Welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. We are the home of hospitality tech. The Tech on Toast podcast is brought to you today by our friends at Lightspeed. The holidays are here and your restaurant is buzzing, but are you ready for the rush? The festive season is make or break time for many restaurants, filled with non-stop tableside service, kitchen chaos, and complex reservations. But what if you had a secret weapon? Well, Lightspeed is that weapon. It's the ultimate point of sale and payments platform that helps your team deliver seamless service and incredible experiences. Imagine your staff taking orders and payments right to the table with Tableside, or having your front and back of house perfectly in sync during peak hours. Wouldn't that be nice? Lightspeed gives you the tools to not only survive the holidays, but truly shine, all while saving time, reducing errors, and keeping guests coming back for more. This season, let your tech do the work for you. Close the year strong with Lightspeed Restaurant. Welcome to my new studio with a little green glow.
Very fancy. Me and my co-founder, actually, we met working together at Talabat, which is like the Just Eat of the Middle East. You know, if you've got 40 sites, you want to execute a discount strategy, you can just do it with 3 clicks. It's just all sites. Yeah, we decided to maybe think about how we could solve that problem. We saw really high levels of user engagement very quickly from that, mainly around people coming back and having at least 2 to 3 conversations.
Which screams that actually people want more help. They've got the data, but they just want more advice.
Exact key value proposition for us now, bringing all that data together, creating that omni-channel experience. We went to Google and typed in names beginning with AI.
That'd be great, wouldn't you, if you could look at a campaign and look what it did to food cost, labour cost.
Yeah.
My son calls me the richest poor man he knows. Welcome to the next Tech on Toast podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Sean Trevaskis, co-founder of Growdash. Sean, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to my new studio with a little green glow.
Very fancy. I
just said all the gear. My son calls me the richest poor man he knows because I tend to hang around all these swanky places, but I have no money. He just thinks I have no money. Before we get into it, I just uncovered your the background of your name, Trevaskis.
Yes.
I guessed right. And where's it from?
It's from Cornwall.
It's from Cornwall.
Yeah.
Because there's a place called Trevalis Bay or something like that.
Yeah. We went down there when I was a kid once, and we looked at the cricket team on the outside the post office,
right?
And every single one was a Trevaskis.
Really?
So yeah.
Welcome to Cornwall, my friend. Where your brother is your sister. Exactly. Sorry to everyone in Cornwall for offending you. Look, welcome, mate. And how are you here for long? Because
here for the week.
You're not based in London, are you?
No, based in Dubai. So that's where we started Growdash. We built out of there, and then early this year we started working with some nice brands to help us localize for the UK. And yeah, now it's all about ramping up the UK. It's the big opportunity.
Very cool, mate. And tell us a little bit about you before we get into Growdash. What's your background?
So me and my co-founder, actually, we met working together at Talabat, which is like the Just Eat of the Middle East. And our job there was to build all the advertising tech, the discount tech, the vendor portals where you go in and see the data and how you're performing on those channels. And then I moved over to Deliveroo in the UK after COVID for a couple of years. Worked specifically in the northwest of England on commercial strategies. That's
where I'm from. I'm from the Wirral.
Nice. Yeah. One of my cities.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the Wirral. Back then we just kind of because we kept being involved in the ad tech process and helping restaurants acquire the use of it, we were seeing that there was a certain level of retention within the metrics that you could see on the aggregator side, so that restaurants are sometimes coming in not making good money from their investments and then kind of backing out of using them again, getting a little bit scared. So we decided to maybe think about how we could solve that problem, and that's where we started Growdash.
And hence Growdash. So so you're filling a particular gap in the market here, I think. But tell us, if as best you can, your best pitch for Growdash. So no one's ever heard of you. What does it do?
Nice. So we're a restaurant growth software. So essentially what we do is we integrate with all the aggregators, so the Deliveroos, the Just Eats, the Uber Eats, and for a restaurant marketing function, not the operational functions, more the marketing side of the business, we'll then put in on a daily basis their performance data across their general performance, campaigns, discount strategies, and then we also have push APIs, so you can actually execute these campaigns and optimize them from our platform too. And then beyond that, we've now started really evolving into kind of how do we become the analyst in your pocket. So we launched something called Aisha, which is an AI agent that can read all that data, build out strategies, reports, and answer complex questions pretty quickly.
And is that the ICP then? So is it marketers? Is that they're the people you're focused on selling to?
Yeah. They're the kind of stakeholders that we mostly engage with. I mean, smaller brands, the more tail end of the market, SMBs, you tend to see some owner operators also using the platform. But yeah, the kind of mid-market enterprise accounts tend to be the marketing or delivery functions that are. And
what leads them to you, I suppose? You kind of alluded to a bit there. They've kind of had a go with Deliveroo or Just Eat or someone, and they've kind of stepped back a little bit.
I think that kind of why we built initially to what the value proposition is today is slightly changing. So restaurants are becoming more tech savvy. They are starting to adopt these strategies on these platforms, and they're engaging with them much more aggressively than they ever were before because consumer habits have changed. The best way to acquire a customer now, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, is through these platforms. So, that just means that now the challenge has become, okay, we want to dive into the data, we want to understand what's going on so we can be more strategic in how we think about deploying our investments and discounts or advertising, whatever that may be, and which channel to grow on and where and why. And so that becomes kind of the key value proposition for us now, bringing all that data together, creating that omni-channel experience, and then having that AI agent be able to be that analyst with you. And the second part of that is, if you want to take control of your campaigns, it can be quite frustrating to go through silos. So going to one platform, then the other platform, store by store by store. So some of that bulk functionality that
all of that is in one place on your
exactly
on Growdash.
Exactly. So if you want to execute, if you've got 40 sites, you want to execute a discount strategy, you can just do it with 3 clicks. It's just all sites.
Yeah, so, I already see the use case there. I'm guessing actually with the data, you talked about the data gathering and how much the reason you built the data analyst is that actually the guys are probably struggling a bit with data at the moment, as in there's so much because of tech, and as you mentioned, everything's changing. Do you think they struggle a little bit with the amount of data they have and to actually analyze it? Yeah,
definitely. There are more and more metrics becoming available for you to kind of monitor and measure when it comes to any campaign that you're running or any strategy you're running on these channels now. So that just compounds that problem, because before, there is still a challenge around collecting, cleaning, curating the data, but then add on top of it, there's so many more layers of data that I can now explore. You just make the whole process a little more kind of time consuming or expertise driven for the majority of restaurant groups to kind of be able to adopt quickly, because there's certain practices and principles to how you think about these numbers and how they stitch together. So being able to do that, provide that kind of plug-in solution to say, hey, here you go, and now you can just engage with this platform and get all that insight into your pocket, into your hands, is what we're seeing as the biggest use case. The Aisha Chat that we launched, where you can now engage like a Chat GPT environment, we saw really high levels of user engagement very quickly from that, mainly around people coming back and having at least 2 to 3 conversations.
Which screams that actually people want more help. They've got the data, but they just want more advice.
Exactly. With the dashboards, people are logging in 3 times a week because they're seeing the numbers, and then going away and thinking about it and then coming back. But now to come in and see them engaging and actually having conversations and pulling out insights, and for us, that just allows us to keep training the models.
Weirdly, I put a post out this morning. I was talking about learning and development, actually. I was talking about how there's a bit of a myth around Gen Z and Gen Alpha that the way they learn, that actually they don't like learning, they haven't got time for it. But actually, it's the absolute opposite. They want to, they're much more driven in terms of understanding what's behind the theory, and their frustration is they can't get to that because a lot of the platforms are sticky and old and whatever, or the legacy and the integrations don't work, whatever. So I think that's where you're finding that adoption going quicker, isn't it?
Yeah, we see that particularly with really experienced marketing teams in restaurant groups, because they've been adopting social media for a long time. There's lots of metrics, lots of platforms they can use to make their life easier with that kind of activity. But when it comes to the delivery side of the business, that's still something that's still maturing. So we really want to kind of fill that void and connect those dots.
What are the key metrics, I suppose, that a marketer should be looking at when they're doing this? Because I have no idea.
So there's when it comes to advertising, there's obviously the core one, which is return advertising spend, or ROAS. But then there's obviously other metrics beyond that you should look at when you're assessing a complete campaign. So most people just look at the ROAS. For every £1 I'm spending, how many pounds in revenue will this campaign generate? So that's 2x. It's £2. But beyond that, you want to look at your customer acquisition costs. How many new customers am I acquiring from these campaigns as well? Because that's incremental growth, not just taking orders from people that would have potentially ordered from or have ordered from you before and potentially would have ordered with you from not advertising with them. So you think about that cannibalization, and then also the conversion rate of campaigns, because the conversion rate is heavily linked to what is that consumer seeing on the other side. So what does the menu look like? What's my delivery times look like? My ratings, my reviews, those things matter in terms of your campaign conversion rate. So those are the core metrics I'd say for CPC, cost per click campaigns. And then when it comes to discounting, definitely look at the discount spend and the average discount per basket, just to get a sense of, am I over indexing here? Am I making this completely unprofitable? Because it's
really interesting.
Yeah, you should think about the profitability when it comes to discounting, particularly because you are giving away some of your basket.
Yeah, because I imagine the urge is because of the digitalization of this area, that actually the ability to go and do stuff quickly is there, right? You can just chuck out campaigns for fun, right? Exactly. But actually knowing that they've landed, and I guess that's the question in the boardroom for these people, that when they go in there, 100%. Prior to Growdash, they're probably scraping around a bit for some really serious data to show whether it's good or not.
Even basic questions like incrementality versus cannibalisation. Has this campaign an incremental effect, or has it just literally cannibalised from the people that would have ordered from me anyway?
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with knowing that answer. At least you know.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly if that's something where you want to bring in new customers, for example, a new customer targeted discount. It is still a very good thing to do, right? If it's going to drive incrementality and it's going to acquire new customers, 100%. It's a great thing.
And what about, because you've built, obviously, is it Aisha?
Yes.
Your AI bot.
Yeah. We went to Google and typed in names beginning with AI. And most of them were Irish and I couldn't pronounce them.
I love this fact. Most people think, they've spent thousands on a marketing agency working out that. No, he went on Google and just did it really quick. I probably asked ChatGPT, right? But when you're building, how is Aisha? Is she taking data straight from the panel, from your platform? Sorry.
Yeah. So it's there's previously in tech businesses, they used to really think about the back end and the front end. But now what we're seeing with the use of AI cases, particularly AI agents, which we built, is something called a prompt layer that sits between the back end and the front end. So essentially that's what the Aisha playground is. So we didn't just put a ChatGPT wrapper out there.
So they've got the ability to build their own almost agentic AI?
Yeah, so there's lots of agents basically behind one main agent that you're seeing on the product, and behind there's lots of agents that are trained specifically to do certain tasks. So trend analysis, discount campaign analysis, cannibalisation analysis, and those kind of things. It will dive into different LLMs to be able to achieve that. So we also built the APIs with all the LLMs that are available, so DeepSeek, Grok, Claude, and all those, ChatGPT, Gemini, and we use them in different ways. So Gemini, for example, when you're looking on our product and seeing the typing coming out and actually the text, that's Gemini. And then when you're seeing things like trend analysis coming through and that data.
Why did you use different ones? Was there some the strengths and others?
Yeah, exactly. Some are very much more generalists and can achieve tasks better, and others are very good at like the math side of things and plugging out complicated formulas to come up with like key insights for us. And then obviously Aisha will leverage all of those things and try and give you her most accurate response to the question or the command that you've given her.
And what feedback are you getting? Because I'm guessing you how early are you in? Because how long have you been going?
So we've been going for about 3 years. We work with about 5,000 restaurants in the Middle East.
Wow.
And obviously we're scaling here. We've got some really good partners that hopefully we can start announcing very soon. Now they're onboarded and using the product. And we've seen some good case studies already in the UK. But from the AI perspective, that's really the start of this year we launched that. 2024 we built it, all the infrastructure, because we were seeing our customers coming to our account managers in our business to say, hey, any advice or tips and tricks? And they are qualified to do that. They're ex account managers at the aggregators or the ex marketing.
You don't want that, do you? You don't want
as a business to scale and provide value to all the customers. It was quite difficult to do that from a human perspective. So that's where we started training the models out, Aisha, and being able to service that at scale.
And what's I got to ask what the difference between the markets in the Middle East to the UK? Are there obvious differences? Or is it,
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think average order value, funnily enough, is much higher here.
Really?
Is in the Middle East, Middle East has a very much a convenience kind of way of looking at food delivery. So everything's quick. There's lots of discount-driven campaigns and all those types of things as well. The other thing that's very different between here and the Middle East is that the rider supply isn't a gig economy. It's a employed economy. So your rider supply is very, very big. So your deliveries can be done really fast, really efficiently. And obviously the cities is built upwards, not outwards.
So fulfillment in the Middle East
is really fast, Like groceries, 15 minutes, is long. 10 to 15 is pretty much bang on every single time. And delivery of normal food is 20 to 30 minutes.
And I guess there's a larger coverage.
Yeah, the population's dense, so there's a lot more selection within an area as well because all the restaurants are on top of each other. It's very competitive in that scenario. But then obviously in the UK, the opportunity here, what we're seeing is that the total addressable market for us, particularly with the number of restaurants that are here, the size of the average group is 5 to 6 times bigger than the GCC. For us, Kuwait and UAE together. So it's interesting to see how the different markets give us different opportunities.
And is there plans to go into different markets after this one? Or are you going to get UK sorted first?
I don't want to
before you run before you can walk.
I was about to say, I don't want to run before we can walk. So we're just focused on the UK for now, and I think 2026 will stay that way. We'll obviously assess other markets and see where there's maybe more organic demand. If we're working with restaurants here that also operate in Europe, perhaps that's the way for us to think about those markets. But we are integrated with Glovo and those guys as well, so we can theoretically go into places like France and Western Europe right now. And
what's the biggest mistake? Is there a biggest mistake you see restaurateurs or marketers making when kind of dealing with their campaigns and their advertising?
Yeah, I think the most common one, it still comes back down to data and being able to really think about a lot of restaurants, because of the issues of collecting and playing with that data. We tend to look from a delivery model at the top line, so how many orders and how much revenue, and a lot of teams then are struggling to go beyond that point and say, actually, what are my costs? Where's my most profitable orders coming from? A branch level, for example, if I'm getting a revenue distribution, most will look at the channel distribution. So, X channel has 25% of my order volume, another one has 75%. That's great. But when they look at branch level, they might say, actually, it's the other way around.
100%.
Because that app is specifically in a certain part of town where the coverage from one of the aggregators is not.
I remember Bristol. Uber was huge in Bristol, all the way around. I can't remember Deliveroo, but I remember Prime Minister when I was there. We had different, it behaved very differently per city.
Yeah. So just being able to go to those level of insights is really tough. I think that just leads to a lot of frustration. I think, and that's something if we can really change that, I think it'd be powerful for restaurants.
And what about the future then? Are we looking down the road a little bit with you guys for Growdash? Are you going to grow more? Excuse the pun.
Yeah, well, we'll hope to. We'll obviously focus on the UK solely for 2026, and then beyond that, is there Western Europe that we try and think about, or do we go to the US maybe and think about how that benefits the scale of our business? And then outside, when we're focused on product, we're do we become the marketing operating system and start thinking about maybe the social media campaigns coming into that, or building CRMs and those types of things, or is there lots of partners that we can
I think there's
with?
a real potential need for that. I sit in a WhatsApp group. I don't know if you're in it in the UK. I'll have to get you into it, but there's about 800 marketers in there, right? And they're talking all the time about the problems you've just been talking about, often talking about campaign-led. That's why I was asking about the metrics. So I think people struggle, especially new marketers coming through. Maybe they haven't had the education around it, and people are over-promoted quickly now because of the state of the industry, blah, blah, blah. So I think there's a real thirst for that wraparound service in marketing to support these people, because they're the creative, right? You can't replace them. They're great.
Exactly. It's so difficult.
Yeah, their ideas and what they do and their knowledge of their brand is fantastic, but helping them execute is a real issue.
Yeah, I think... we'll look at it from a product perspective. The marketing operating system. Do we do that, or do we even look at the prompt layer, the Aisha element of it becoming more stretched across different data sets? So how do we access ERP data, inventory and costing data, and be able to bring even more insights and reports to the forefront?
That'd be great, wouldn't you, if you could look at a campaign and look what it did to food cost, labor cost.
If you connect to the POS as well, I can also maybe look at the offline sales versus the online sales and things like that as well. So I think there's definitely a debate internally. But
I've been nightmaring your product meet. I'm like, build that.
There's so many things you go after. What do you focus on with the resources we've got? But I think what we've always made sure that we do is we're pretty much customer led.
Yeah.
So we want to speak to the industry experts. We want to speak to people like you and those with stakeholders in the industry that are trying to manage this problem and say, what's next should we prioritize for you? That's the way we've built so far.
It's really exciting. And what's your plan? So you come over a week because you're originally from Cornwall or not, or your name is just Cornish?
I grew up in Guildford, so sorry,
right, okay.
not far from here.
I think Gracie's from Guildford. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice. There you go.
And I left for the Middle East when I was about 22.
How was that then? Just interested to understand how that culture change was.
Just went to get away. I was working at Foxtons early in my career in London, and decided that it wasn't for me. I wasn't in for real estate. So I just went to the Middle East and started from scratch and did a few different things. I started off in recruitment and then moved into more commercial roles. And then I finally got into Talabat, and just everything for me changed in terms. And
I get because you know the guys at Grubtech. Yeah. So I know Mo fairly well, and the guys
incredible founders there.
Yeah.
For the Middle East, for founders like me that are building out the Middle East, particularly in restaurant tech, those guys are like the North Star.
Are they really? Right. Okay. Yeah. They're good guys. They're funny.
Is insane.
Yeah. They're really nice guys. Look, how do people get hold of you? So if they want to kind of have a look at Growdash, grab a demo.
LinkedIn, Sean Trevaskis. It's a hard one to spell, but it's on.
Ask me if you need it. I can give you.
It's on the Spotify thing as well, so don't worry. And then or just email Sean@mygrowdash.com. Awesome. Feel free to reach out and have a chat. We really want to connect as much as we can across the UK.
Well, I think the marketing, as I said, there's that WhatsApp group we're in. We know a load of other people who you need to meet. Victoria Searle, the people like that, who she runs a company called Data Hawks, which but she's very heavily into email marketing around that. So you guys should definitely have a chat. But we'll do some introductions and we'll go from there. But thank you for coming into our really greenlit studio. It. Looks like Halloween, but it's not. That was Sean, everybody from Growdash. Everyone say bye, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.